What started as a routine press stop turned into the most explosive moment daytime TV has ever seen. Mark Wahlberg walked onto The View to promote his latest film, but by the time he left, the set was in shambles. Security had stepped in, and Joy Behar's career would never recover. The moment he stepped onto the stage, something was off. The audience greeted Mark with warmth, applause echoing through the studio. But when his eyes met Joy Behar's, he knew this wasn't going to be business as usual. Her smile was sharp, rehearsed, and lacking warmth. What in curiosity was something closer to a challenge. "Welcome back to The View," Joy said, voice syrupy sweet with a bitter undertone. Mark Wahlberg. "I've been looking forward to this conversation for a very long time." Mark smiled, relaxed but alert. "Thanks for having me. Always good to be here with you ladies." Joy didn't skip a beat. "Is it though? I seem to recall you had some pretty strong opinions about people in my line of work, something about actors who think they're political experts." The room froze. It wasn't a question. It was a trap. Joy reached for a piece of paper, holding it up with exaggerated flair. Quote, "Some of these Hollywood types need to stick to what they know instead of lecturing working-class Americans about politics. Ring any bells?" Mark's jaw clenched, but he held his tone steady. That wasn't aimed at anyone in particular. "There's a difference between having an opinion and talking down to people." Joy cocked her head, talking down to people. She let the words hang. That's rich coming from someone who made millions playing street thugs. "When exactly did you become the voice of the working class?" Mark didn't flinch. "I never claimed to be a spokesperson. I grew up in Dorchester. I've seen struggle. I know what it's like to hustle just to keep the lights on, and I grew up in Brooklyn." Joy shot back. "My dad was a truck driver. Don't lecture me about hard times." The mood turned electric. Whoopi Goldberg shifted in her seat. The producers were already pacing behind the cameras. This was no longer an interview, it was a battlefield. Mark leaned forward. "Sit here every day telling millions of people how to think, how to vote, what to believe. You don't educate to dictate." Joy's smile vanished. "And you play pretend for a living. Don't talk to me about credibility." And then she went for the jugular. "Remind me, Mark, how many arrests did you rack up before Hollywood? Cleaned you up? Want to talk about values? Let's start there." The audience gasped. Mark's face went pale, then flush with fury. "That's a low blow, even for you," he said, voice tight. "Is it?" Joy asked, leaning in. "Or is it the truth you don't want people to remember?" Mark stood, his chair screeching against the floor. The tension was unbearable. Security began to inch toward the stage. "This isn't journalism," he said, voice rising. "This is a hit job. You didn't invite me here for an interview. You invited me here to humiliate me." Joy didn't blink. "You're in my house, Wahlberg. If you can't take the heat, maybe you shouldn't come into the kitchen." Mark's fists clenched, but his voice dropped low a tone anyone who's seen his films would recognize. "You think yelling makes you right? You think being cruel makes you clever? But all you're doing is proving my point." "Cruel," Joy scoffed. "You think I'm cruel?" "It's from the guy who don't," Mark interrupted, voice like steel. "Don't go there again." But Joy couldn't stop. "You want to play the working class hero? Let's talk about how you got there. Drugs, violence, assaults. That's your resume." Silence. Pure, brutal silence. Mark stared her down. "You're not interested in truth? You're interested in theater? Not trying to talk, you're trying to win. And you don't care how ugly it gets?" Joy stood now. I tweet with him. "You know what, Mark? Maybe you should go back to your little Boston neighborhood and leave the big conversations to people who know what they're talking about." It was the moment everything snapped. "My little Boston neighborhood," Mark repeated, voice trembling with restrained fury. "You mean the place where people actually work? Where people don't get paid millions to tear others down for ratings?" "Drug dealers," Joy quipped. "Because that's what you were before Hollywood gave you a script." Security stepped in. The room was dead quiet. Mark took a breath. "You really want to go there? Fine, let's talk about your past. Let's talk about your failed stand-up career. How you couldn't make it as a comedian, so you turned into a professional hater instead." Joy blinked. "You built your brand on tearing others down. And when someone pushes back, you call it journalism. But you're not a journalist. You're a bully with a microphone." Her face turned red. "Get out," she whispered. "What?" "I said get out," Joy shouted, pointing at the door. "This is my show. You don't get to stand here and insult me." Mark didn't move. "You brought me here under false pretenses. You ambushed me, mocked my past. And now you want me gone because I won't let you steamroll me? That's not journalism. That's cowardice." The studio held its breath. "I'll go," he said, "but not because you told me to, because I have too much respect for myself. To sit here and be used for ratings by someone who stopped listening a long time ago." He turned to walk away, then paused. "You had a chance today, Joy. A chance to actually bridge a gap. To show that people with different views can have a civil conversation. Instead, you chose division. You chose performance over honesty. You chose to be exactly what people accuse you of being." Joy's hands were trembling. "Just leave," she whispered again. Mark walked out, head high, back straight, in the studio, still frozen. Not a whisper, not a cough. Even the crew had stopped rolling cables. Whoopi finally broke the silence. "We'll be right back after this commercial break." But everyone watching knew there was no coming back from that. Clips of the confrontation exploded online within minutes. Millions watched and rewatched the moment Joy Behar lost control, not just of the interview, but of the narrative she'd spent years building. Articles dissected every line, every jab, every glance, and the verdict was unanimous. Mark Wahlberg walked in a guest and walked out a symbol of calm under fire, of standing one's ground, of dignity in the face of televised cruelty. Joy Behar. She didn't just lose an argument. She lost her audience. The conversation might be over, but the echoes of that moment will ring for years to come. Because when the smoke cleared, the world remembered who tried to tear someone down and who stood up instead.